Hello everybody, it's Belinda here from Visualized NZ. Oh, sorry about that. It's Trashcraft Tuesday time. I am actually filming this on Monday because I'm going to be out on Tuesday, and it's the first one I've filmed ahead for the Trashcraft Tuesday. Not that it matters, because you're still getting the content. So for today, I'm going to work with two different types of trash. So first off, I have a box here, a cracker box. And I just want to take a portion of it out to work with. So I don't need something that's too big, but I'm just looking at what this box has got, and I think this panel will be the easiest to work with because some of the others are a bit creased. So I'm just going to put this rest of the box aside and trim off these end bits so we've got a nice flat bit of cardboard to work with. And you can use any card, you could use any type of box as long as it's got a big enough area for what you want to do. You don't need a huge area for this. You could use backing off of a pad or just whatever you've got, any bit of trash, but you know, most of us have some sort of packaging box like this. Right, I have this whale tail tab here. So they don't make these punches anymore. I don't have one of the punches, so I bought a set of the digital whale tails from Artsology. Now they are fantastic. There's so many pages and all sorts of colours and patterns, and I use them quite a bit, but sometimes it's just not quite the right colour or the right style for what the project that you want, and that does frustrate me at times. I would love a punch, but you know, they're like hen's teeth, and when you do find one, they're generally pretty pricey because people know, for one, I imagine they were quite pricey when they first came out, but also people realize that they're well sought after, so they can command a decent price for them, and that's fair enough. So what I'm going to do is I've taken one of the tabs, whale tail tabs that I have already cut out from the digital printable, and I'm just tracing around it onto this card, and I'm going to make a template. So this is the first part of our trash, is making a little template of something that I want. Now today I am concentrating on tabs, page tabs. So this is the first one that I want to do because I do like the whale tail. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind why it's so popular. It's a really cool shape, very usable, just, yeah, wonderful. And you can position it in different ways to get a slightly different effect, you know, whether it sticks out further or not so much. It's really nice to add to journal cards. Lots and lots of fun. And, you know, not boring like just a rectangle, or not that rectangles are bad. I've got nothing against rectangles, but sometimes you just want to jazz things up a bit and make a little fun decorative tab. So I'm just cutting out around where I drew out. Now this is going to end up slightly bigger than the original because we traced around it, which was then took it out a little bit, and I'm cutting on the line, so it's still going to end up bigger than this original one, which is okay. You know, there's no reason why you can't have different sizes, absolutely, but you can still make them smaller as well. So once you've got your template, it's very easy to make them back down to this, roughly, you know, the size that the original is. Right, there we go. There's my whale tail tab template. Simple as. This is something I should have done a long time ago, but you know, good things take time. Right, part 2 of my Trashcraft Tuesday trash is using magazines. Now for this I wanted matte paper, so I didn't want shiny paper, And some magazines I've been through and taken out everything I want, but there's still good stuff in them, and I don't like to just ditch them. But I need to, like, I need to get rid of them so I can go to my next magazine. I can't just keep hanging on to these things forever and a day, which is what I tend to do. So this one, there wasn't actually a lot in this one that I found that I wanted to keep in terms of images, but there are some cool background textures like this pumpkin. I want to use this pumpkin, so I'm going to grab a pen this time, just because I think it's going to be slightly easier to see when I'm cutting. You could totally use pencil, would be fine. I do run the risk of being able to see the pen in the finished article, but you know, we can see how it goes, and then I can tell you, yep, pen's fine, or no, just go with pencil, guys. I'll be the guinea pig. Yeah, see, I don't think that I know of have any in orange, so this is kind of cool colour, cool texture. A little bit of sort of greeny black in there from the colours on the pumpkin. There's a little bit of lighter orange up the top here, so it'd be cool to get some of that. Don't worry, I'm not going to cut all these out on camera. Just going to do one here and there so you get the idea and see how worthwhile, or at least I hope it is, because I haven't actually done this before, how worthwhile it can be, and something you can do in that time, you know, when you're watching TV or not feeling like particularly creative. You can still do little things like this that are productive, give you some wonderful materials to work with, and you feel like you've actually still achieved something. You may not have made a journal or, you know, completed a spread in your journal or art journal or anything, but you've actually produced materials to work with when you do feel like doing those things. Okay, we've probably got room for one more. Like, why not? Hey, we might as well get as much as we can from our pumpkin here. Oops, that's one thing we do have to watch, is moving your template when you're tracing around it, which is what just happened there. I moved it slightly. Right, so we've got 5 whale tails out of that. So I'm just going to take this first one that I drew round, roughly cut it out so it's easier to work with, and then cut it out. Easy peasy. Now I'm going to just cut slightly inside the line that I drew. Now that's going to reduce the size down to fairly similar to the original size. It's also going to eliminate any pen marks, and on that first cut I actually forgot that that's what I was going to do. So just take a little bit more off that side, and I might just switch to my fussy cutting scissors to get in these curves, just to make life a little bit easier on myself. And if it's not perfectly symmetrical, because you know it's hand cut and it's prone to not being perfectly lined up once it's gone through all these different stages, then once you've folded it in half, just trim up any areas that aren't right, that might be showing, and that will be in the folded area, because the bits that attach to the page, it won't matter whether they're symmetrical or not, because they won't be seen together. But any areas that do show in the center part, just trim them up before you glue it down, is what I'm thinking will fix that little issue, potential issue. Okay, so there we go. And in this case, we could choose to have the blue side. I do have the next page in mind for doing some from as well. So just to demonstrate, here's our little whale tail, and I can see it doesn't quite match up there, so I'm just going to match it up. And you don't need to be too particular. If you edge it with Distress ink, then that's going to hide those things as well. There we go, there's our little whale tail tab, and if you can see there, it doesn't meet there, but those parts are actually going to be attached to your page on either side. So in this case, if you attach it right at the top there, you will see a little bit, so you can trim that off. But if you put it lower down, you know, depending where you want to position it, then you're not going to see that it doesn't line up perfectly. But it's a way to achieve a shape that you may not otherwise have access to. So if you don't have any whale tail tabs that you know, from Happy Mail or from Printable like this, I do believe there's the odd one available free printable online. I can't tell you where because I haven't, you know, I've got the set of printables that I purchased, so I haven't needed to look, but I'm pretty sure you'd find some freebies out there that you could print out and trace around to do that with. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more of those because I think you get that idea. There's one idea. Another idea is just a circle punch. Any circle punch, any size that you like. You can do a variety of shapes and sizes. So I'm just going to take some of this quite lovely blue and white graphic here. Punch a circle, and this one's super easy. Like, that is your tab. That's your tab there. So fold it in half, and no problems with symmetry because your circle punch will punch a perfect circle. And I really need a piece of paper or something, would be easier to show you. So here we go, there's your tab, and you can either put it right flush in so that the paper's right against that crease, or you can stick it out a little bit like so. So a bit of a different shape, different look as a little page tab. So that's another idea for you. Simple. Oops, I just dropped it. Okay, I'll pick that up later. You could also, you know, do different sizes. So I've got that was a 1.5 inch, I think, or 1 3/4. Can't remember now. This is a 3/4 or 1 inch. Gosh, I can't remember the measurements now. But whatever size, you know, you can do the same thing if you want a smaller one. Then, and it's really cool as a page decoration too, even if it's not a thumb tab or page tab. Just a cool little decoration. Or stick it out a little bit so it's like a page tab. You can also layer these up, so a little bit trickier to fold once they're layered up because they're quite thick, but doable. You could score it to make folding easier, or you could pre-fold them before you glue them down so that it's easier to refold on that line. Hope this is making sense to you all, guys. Okay, so that's another idea. So I'm going to pop this aside for now. Let's look at some other shapes that we might want to do. So you can create whatever shape you like. Experiment with shapes. So I'm going to make another template and have a think about what shape I might like. So the tricky part is having it symmetrical. So I have a tip for that as well. So I'm going to go kind of a teardrop shape-ish. I'm going to need to just tidy this up a little bit and try and get it like we did with whale tail. You can always grab something and trace around it if you think that it would make a good tab, or for any other purpose really. Right, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So this is very quick. I mean, it may not turn out that great, but it'll be enough for the idea, and I can refine it off camera. Okay. So you might think this is an odd shape for a page tab, but bear with me. I do have an idea in mind. So I'm going to find a section of my magazine that I think will look nice as a page tab. This is some sort of farming, growing type magazine. I found it to be quite political too in terms of the message, which I understand, you know, but not particularly usable for what I do. So yeah, just looking for something that's suitable. That's not too bad. Those cows, they might be okay for something. See, this is a lovely image, but it's too big for what I would need it for. Okay, let's go grab some of this. So I think if I rip the page out, it might be easier to deal with. Right, I'm just going to trim it down a little bit, just so I'm not working with such a huge bit of paper. Right, so we have this shape, but we need two of it so that it folds over. So what I'm going to do is fold, making sure I've got enough room for my design. Fold my bit of paper over, give it a good crease, and that's going to be our folded part. That's going to create the symmetry. And then all I'm going to do is place my design on that fold line, and I am going to use pencil this time because I suspect I'm going to need to rub some parts out. Oops, and not move my template in the process. Okay, I'm just going to trim that off there. So I'm going to cut out the two layers, and that will give me my symmetrical page tab. Now you don't want to go too far around this curve here and cut that off, so I'm going to leave it a bit more blunt at that end, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So I'm just going to not continue all the way around that curve, just to give it a bit more of a hinge end. Okay, so there we go. We've got roughly our symmetrical page tab. So I'm going to just rub out my lines where I wasn't being too careful. I was not worried about it being perfect. There we go. Now grab my page here, and we've got our page tab. Now you can stick it out so it's a page tab like so. Now I thought this would be a really cool shape if there's something on your page you wanted to point at. So as well as functioning as a page tab, it could be a pointer, so it could be pointing at a photograph. Imagine this is your family holiday, and you know you're pointing at something in the photograph, or just at the photograph in general. Or if this is writing, then you're pointing at something that stands out in the day. You could be pointing at a bit of packaging, you know, and you can also use them at the top. There's no reason why you can't put them at the top or the bottom. Pointing at something specific. Now that's in terms of, you know, doing personal journaling. But if you're making journals, you can absolutely just have it as that page tab and just something different. So don't forget, inking up can give it a nice finished look, nice little edge. I'll just do one side for demonstrating. Get rid of those crumbs. Oops, yeah, get on the page. And they're just a really cute, fun tab, page tab. I mean, why not be creative? I know Lydia from February and June loves page tabs, and she loves adding random bits of packaging and torn bits of paper and scrappy bits. So there's another fun idea for you, and magazine scraps are perfect for that as well. But I know she already does that, so I wanted to just show something a little bit different. Now I've got one other idea in mind. So I'm going to make another template. And another popular shape is a heart. And actually I didn't manage to draw that too badly. So it's very similar to our other shape, but there's two sides of it. Bear with me while I just cut this one out. It's not totally symmetrical. I very rarely can draw hearts that are symmetrical. I've always got one bit that's bigger than the other. But that's a bit like our real hearts, isn't it? Our real hearts have one chamber bigger than the other. So there we've got a wee heart. So I've got another magazine here. That again is one I've already harvested. I haven't completely harvested this one. This has still got a lot of things in it that I would want to cut out. But I'm sure I can find something that I wouldn't use somewhere else. See, it's got some really cool vintage style images, so definitely want to grab those for other things. This one, this lovely stone architecture, that would be quite nice. Make it easier, I'm just going to cut a section out. And this is matte paper as well. And it's a magazine called Good, which is another one that I find is really nice. Nice paper, nice images. Okay, so again, I'm going to fold this so I've creating my piece. It's quite nice there too, that sealing detail. So just making sure I'm clear of the text there. And going to do the same thing, put top of my heart against the fold line and trace around it. Now you can choose to not have the little divot for the heart, but I think then you'd kind of perhaps lose the meaning of it being a heart. So, okay. Going to trim it down a bit just for ease sake. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little bit of cut out there in the center, just so we've got our heart shape. And a little bit of ink just so you can see, and there's the other side. Get a nice edge. Grab my page back, And here again we have a cool page tab. So put it at the bottom, at the top, and again you can slide it right down so it sits right over the page and just adds the decoration, or as a tab, or you can have it as a corner tab, because we took out that little bit for to create the heart. Then you could actually have it as a corner tab, page tab, that then has a little stick out bit on the top and the side, and even down the bottom. Oops, I'm fighting with it, like so. So there's some fun ideas to just how you can create your own fun page tabs, making some templates either of ones that already are out there but which maybe you don't have, or like I did, I want to be able to customize sometimes the color or design of what I want. These printables are wonderful, but sometimes you just want something, you know, in the right color or style for a project. You can use your circle punch, so this smaller one or the bigger one, which is still down on the floor underneath me. Get creative with the shapes and see what you can come up with, remembering to leave enough of the fold so that it doesn't fall apart at the end. So hopefully that's given you some ideas, using up some trash, using up some packaging, and some magazine book pages, or even book pages that you don't that's funny, there's a couple of faces on the inside of that one. That, you know, magazine, you've harvested what you want, but there's just cool colors and textures that can make some fun page tabs with. So thanks for joining me. Hope it's useful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Think about subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Okay, I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.